another episode of Critical Critique Pause on Point. Depending on what happens, this will either be the first video of 2022 or it'll be a later video in 2022. We'll see what happens.
Just for you, this is the first video recorded in 2022.
Yes. I don't know what the plan's going to be. Because there's been a obviously there's been a lull in content, right? At least from the time of this recording. So I guess an explanation might be in order to all three of our fans. Basically, Lolly's been a bit busy with IRL shit, so he hasn't been able to edit his audio. So it's just taking a while for him to get stuff done, and we're gracious to give him the time that he needs to get himself sorted. But it means that we have a bunch of videos in the backlog that are taking a bit longer than expected to come out.
You shouldn't explain it too much, because if this video comes out last, it makes absolutely no sense.
I know. I'm gonna look like a dumbass. Yeah, I'm gonna look like a complete dumbass. Right? Yeah. So, but basically, yeah, that's the gist of it. So me and Ellie are gonna maybe do a couple of episodes of just us and anyone else that wants to join.
You know, if this video comes out last, I'm just going to put on big on screen. Naretsu is an idiot for talking too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, full permission to do that. Yes, you can. Yeah, I'm being an idiot. So anyway, formality nonsense out the way. We're going to be going back to our good old favorite topic of the Isekais.
Yep. It's my fault, really.
Good old
I know too much.
And we're covering our man. The man, the myth, the legend, the great wrong man. The great wrong man, Anime Matt. He has put out an anime video that is just simply titled Isekai is Changing, which is an intriguing title. I am quite fascinated to see how he thinks that Isekai is changing. It's going to be... I haven't watched the video yet, but it seems like it's going to be an interesting ride. Have you watched it?
I caught glimpses of it, and it already offended me so much that I almost was going to make a joke about it.
Oh no!
He jokes topical things that doesn't make sense.
Oh yes, jokes. Those things that can't be criticized. So yeah. So I guess without any further fucking around, let's just jump right into it. Let's see what he has to say.
You know, I'm gonna say something I never thought I was going to say. Last year was a good year for Isekai. As someone who's been invested in the anime community for the last 15 years or so, Isekai isn't a genre I've been particularly fond of.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, so far non-offensive.
So far non-offensive, but I am interested in the claim though, right? It was last year a good year for Isekai, Ellie? Do you think it was
last
a good
year was basically I have my big timeline, and the only new series that came out in 2021 was Mushoku Tensei and I'm a Spider, So What?
Which were both pretty good. So I guess you could describe it as a pretty good
But
year
I mean,
for Isekai.
stuff like I'm pretty sure that in 2018 or 19 you had Konosuba something, second season, and around that time you still had Slime going. I don't like Slime, but apparently it's good. You still had Shield Hero going on, then you have Ascendancy of a Bookworm. That was 2019.
Did the second season of Hamafera?
Yeah, that was also last year.
I feel like it did. Yeah, that was also
2021.
last year, so. I gotta catch up on that because I haven't gotten around to watching that yet. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I guess you could describe last year as pretty good because I mean I'll be real, like Spider and Mushoku Tensei were probably one of the only two animes I didn't watch a lot of anime last year, so those two were ones that I actually kept up with. So I guess that could kind of indicate to me at least their quality. So yeah, but it's interesting, like, because I'm trying to see it through like the way that he would see it, I guess, right? From sort of that anime only perspective. It's interesting, but we'll see how he clarifies it. Let's see what he says.
As of recently, it's a genre I originally
All
loved,
right.
and also one I
Could you
personally
pause?
watched.
You saw that last scene, right? The one before.
Yeah, I did.
You know the theory, right?
Yeah, I know. He still thinks it's a fucking isekai. Oh god, like Excel World is like even less of an isekai.
Yeah, because it doesn't. It's so dependent on the real world. You have to physically, you can grab a cable from your neck and put it in somebody else's neck. That's not.
You have to log it. Yeah, you have to log into the BFS to get in. So yeah, it's the same. It's the same old thing, really. Like he's doing the same old. But yeah, let's keep going.
Slowly devolve into generic themes of escapism and fantasy. So naturally, as
okay.
Evolve into generic themes.
What do you think Excel World was? Like, what do you think Okay, I don't want to pull that because that's like a weak ass argument, right? Like, all anime is actually.
And what's wrong with it, by the way?
But, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, because that's a weak argument, right? But because I get what he's trying to say, right? I kind of get what he's trying to say. I think it's kind of weird because I don't know how something that is designed specifically to be escapism by what it is can devolve into being escapism.
I don't think stuff like. I don't think most. Well, it kind of depends because, escapist media is always so vague of a term. It is even it's even harder than pin down than isekai itself because, is something like To Love Ru escapist media. Oh, what about ReZero? That's an isekai? Is that escapist media? Maybe.
Is it a male power thing?
Is Hamefura a female power fantasy where you can just, with good-naturedness alone, conquer the world? I don't.
Yeah. So I don't know what he means by that, right? Like I don't know how he's defining escapist in that. Like the power fantasy thing, like I could get that as a criticism in a sense, although it's. I
mean.
Really?
It almost feels like if you're not a shonen, then it's a power fantasy. Because if you're already strong from the start, then I could go on stuff like Tanya is super overpowered but hates using the power because that means acknowledging that there is a god. Ainz is
and all this other stuff.
Ainz from Overlord is super powerful, but that still doesn't cure his loneliness and his isolation. And, I mean, I guess I don't like Slime because he's overpowered and is rewarded for Slime. It, so there's no conflict.
Well, it's ironic that Slime is on the screen. But no, it's that's a weird comment. I would like clarification on that, but I don't think we're gonna get it. But let's keep going.
And continued not to show any development in the genre. I grew distant from the genre itself, but I'm a nostalgic old man, and
I don't get this.
Again, this is all. These are all really confusing statements. like what do you mean that it became stale?
Because it started with. Right? I mean, isekai started with SAO. If you want to include it in the lineage of Naro, the same type of story as Slime, then alright, SAO is the same kind of story as Slime, even though they're different settings. SAO is still a super. The first season, especially, of course, it's a super power fantasy. I am super cool with my 2 swords. I am the only one who is so fast and cool. and has 2 swords, and I'm a beater because I was in the beta and a cheater. Stuff like that.
Right. So
Is that if you
yeah.
then go to something like No Game No Life, is that an upgrade or a downgrade? If you then go to Smartphone Isekai 3 years after that, is that an upgrade? How to Not Summon a Demon, Choyu, Eighth Sun. These are all shows that were in this Isekai throughout the years. And you also had stuff like Local Horizon, Gate, ReZero, Konosuba, Shield Hero,
The well-known ones.
Good Drifters. These are all interspersed between the bad ones. So I don't believe this. There was first good isekai and then there were bad, or it's an upward trend or downward trend. It's always a mixed trend.
Yeah, like you're always gonna have like your trash and your good stuff, right? Like you're always gonna have stuff that's just not great, and then you'll have the little gems sprinkled in between, right? But it's I don't know. It's almost like he's like working on a different plane of reality than the rest of us.
It kind of feels like
it's
he
really
wants to make a narrative, and I mean not a scary narrative, but he has in his mind a vision of how he wants to tell a story, and he just all right, yeah, I liked Local Horizon, but I really hated I'm killing 300 years slime 300 years of killing slime.
Yeah.
And that one was before, and what I watched just now, I hate it. So that means there's a downward trend. But
yeah, that could be it, because he's obviously, again, you always have to remember with Matt that he works in anime tunnel vision land, so he's like the linear pathway, right? Is what he's seeing rather than the actual timeline. So perhaps that is what it is.
In this case,
I don't
Local
wanna
Horizon
mind
was
read
indeed written
too
much
much.
before 300 years of slime.
Yeah. But anyway, we're not even half a minute in. Let's keep going.
As an early adopter of the genre, I made it my personal goal to watch at least one isekai each season to both keep my expectations
just like
for other
Karakura
anime in
once.
check, and to see if maybe I can find some new life slowly emerging in the genre.
Whoa! What is this Anime Plus shit going on right here? What is that? I don't know what that is. Is that like a pirate site or something?
I think I assume it's a legit site, which raises more questions about the footage.
Yeah, a little bit. It looks like a TV bloody logo or something.
I see a trademark R or
seen...
a registered trademark R in the bottom corner of the plus.
Alright. Quickly fucking does a quick Google search.
I'm pretty sure it's a streaming thing.
Anime.plus, an extension to your Mal profile. Anime Plus. I'm seeing stuff that's in Arabic. When I type in
doubt
Anime
that's
Plus.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt that's it. I guess I'm not because I did like plus as in the symbol, and then I did plus as in like the word, and both of them didn't turn up anything. So I don't know. So I don't know what that is, but maybe someone in the comments can tell us what Anime Plus is, because I don't know.
I've seen it before, but it's not important now.
Yeah, it's not important. I was just like, well, that's weird.
And 2021 was just that. Finally, a breath of fresh air into Isekai. So let's start by talking about the winter 2021 season.
Oh, he's going season by season.
This season we had Slime Season 2, which was frankly great. Now, Slime was already established by...
I watched like the first 2 episodes of season 2 of Slime, and then I got really, really fucking bored really quickly. And
what did you watch the first season? And it's
I I did. I watched the first season in its entirety, and I thought, okay, it was like, because I don't hate it as much as you do, right? But I thought it was like okay, right? I thought it was like, all right, it's not amazing, but then I realized that the second season is literally just going to be the same. It's literally just going to be the same thing, and I didn't foresee any like actual changes in what was going on. It's just going to be Rimuru continuing to get more and more powerful, and not really like because I mean, then again, I'm making assumptions, so I don't. I'm gonna preface that by saying I don't actually know, but I had that feeling, and by about like episode 2 or 3, I think it might have even been 2, I was just like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not into this anymore. I'm gonna drop it. So I kind of just dropped it after that. So I don't know if you hate watched it.
No, I.
So maybe you can.
Well, my hate for slime is it's slightly exaggerated for the audience here.
It's just
It's just a
meme.
joke. It's just a meme. No, it's I watched Slime and I thought, man, he's overpowered, fine, but he has no challenge whatsoever. He isn't emotionally. He has no emotional challenge, no personal challenge, personality wise. He's just strong, and that solves the problem.
Everyone wants to suck his dick.
Yeah, and I watched like a good a bunch of it. Like, which episode is the Dwarf Kingdom stuff? I mean, I guess I remember.
No
I
idea.
dropped it when Rimuru got bored of his hometown and just skipped out to teach some children something.
Oh yeah, he went. That was when the boredom was starting to set in for me too, actually, because I was like, well, this is kind of fucking dull. Not gonna lie. This is kind of like, all right. So that probably is why I ended up dropping it in season 2. So yeah, I haven't watched all of season 2. I don't plan to because I don't have the want anymore. But let's see what Matt thinks about it. Why does Matt think it was good?
By this point as one of the better isekai
Okay.
anime coming out originally in fall 2018. But season 2 of this anime, ironically enough, pivoted away from power fantasy and explored the side of city building. Yes, Rimuru was still an overpowered monster. However, he was almost kind of put into check in this season as he finally puts himself into situations where the answer isn't always brute force. I took note of this season because it took a pretty interesting twist where instead of him just brute forcing everything, he has to be political and think of what's best for his country, and most importantly, he makes some pretty big mistakes that he pays
Finally.
dearly.
He's fucking selling. He's selling me on it. He's selling me on it. He's starting to fucking.
Nah, Rimuru
Maybe I might go back.
is still a genocidal cultural imperialist. So
kill
all the slime.
Oh man, but anyway.
4. This season also saw the release of So
Hey!
I'm a Spider, So What? Which originally was going to be my throwaway isekai and ended up not being that. Kumo stole my heart in this anime. It unfortunately does become your classic power fantasy, but
Hey,
Kumo isn't born overpowered.
Her
and
name is
instead of
Kumo
starting-
Ko, by the
Okay.
way.
So, I have a problem with the way that he's framing this because, yeah, it's true that she does get more powerful to the point of being overpowered. However, as he is also kind of pointing out, like, it's earned. It's actually literally fucking earned, right? And I think I don't know if he's actually going to talk about it, so I might hold off, but I one of the things about Spider and the way that they handled the anime that I thought was really interesting was the way they did like the dual
Yeah.
timelines, right? And I actually thought like as a storytelling method, that was really fascinating to me. How they like because at first I didn't like you don't actually like it didn't really occur to me until like later and like I think it
I
was
think
like
I
episode
kept teasing
4
you about
or
it,
3.
or I mean,
Yeah, you might have teased me about it early on, but I came to the conclusion like pretty pretty soon that it was like, oh wait, no, this is like 2 different time periods. Like this is okay. that's interesting. Like that's kind of cool. So I wonder if he's gonna touch on that or not. I guess we'll wait and see. But I don't necessarily like how he's lumping it in with like traditional power fantasy type stuff, because it did, even though it does have a little bit of that near the end when she kind of achieves like most of her, OP-ness. I do feel like there's a difference in
I
the way it's
like
portrayed.
how
So,
Kumiko
I don't
is
know.
still experimenting.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but let's see what he has to say about it.
Arc that lasts 30 seconds, hers is like 20 episodes long, which you would think would make for a terrible anime, but instead they did such a good job writing her and her multiple personalities that her training arc just makes you fall in love with her. It's a fun, happy show with some random kids that no one cares about thrown in there.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Did you
no
catch
kids
that?
nobody cares about.
Yeah, fuck the kids. Yeah, who cares about the kid? Who cares about like the main driving plot force of the whole entire fucking like?
Well,
Series?
Kumiko is more
Jesus.
interesting, but it
Kumiko is more interesting, but the thing is the kids side of the timeline, right, is also, to me at least, was interesting because that was where more of the world building was going on, right? So, like, to just dismiss that, I think, is a great disservice to the show, because that's where you get all of the like, okay, so this is the world, this is how like the politics are in the world, this is
what is
factions,
normal,
this is
and this is, and they go, oh, is that normal? Kumiko is fucking insane. But I know.
Yes, you get the contrast, right? You get the contrast between what's going on. And again, that ties into why I think the whole like dull timelines thing was an interesting method, because it allows them to kind of play around with those kinds of things, right? So yeah, I think that does a disservice to Spider. I think Matt's been a bit mean,
So
I guess.
one detail that was left out of the anime, understandably, but it was in the manga, and it was very, very funny. In that, Kumiko has parallel thinking, right? She basically, split personality, 2 entities, two of her controlling different parts of herself. That is mentioned on the human side once, and it basically says, yeah, don't do that. Only insane people do that, and they go insane. And they just become crippled with insanity. And then you go to Kumiko, and you just a fifth personality popped out of her. La 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 la.
Yeah. One of my personalities has just fucked off into the ether. So yeah, no, it's interesting. Let's see what he says. I'm interested.
But once again, took a very different approach to power fantasy. Not making her this god of the world, but instead basically having her run away to save her ass multiple times. Each time she starts getting even slightly comfortable,
So,
a new monster
pause
appears
real
that is
quick. How is this different from ReZero?
How is this different from, like, okay, like, it's good. I wouldn't describe this as like special, right? At least this element of it. Like, what does actually? I'm trying. How would I word this? Because there is definitely something that makes it, good, right, in comparison to other things, right? And I think it's like Matt here is like kind of scratching on the surface of that, but he's not going far enough. But even I'm kind of struggling.
It's just
to sort of, like, put my
development.
finger on it.
You need a struggle to overcome,
Yeah.
and even if your main character is super overpowered, it still has to be a personal struggle in some way. Ainz's conquest of the whatever. Ainz is becoming the hero of Receipt is his dumb name, of the town. When he can be is the Momon, the black hero. the Dark Knight, it's obvious that he will become the great hero of the town, but it's his personal weighing and indecisiveness, and is this the correct option? Should I do this? Oh, I want to do this, but I can't. And that's the fun in seeing what he does when he's confronted with a dilemma, with difficulties, with expectations. And it's not then the battles that are exciting per se. It's more that you want to know what he's thinking and what his worries are, and then you can see the cool fight where he stomps everybody. And in Spider, it's very much a, oh, I am super weak. I need to do some witty, quick thinking to get out of it, and that's fun.
Yeah, and that witty quick think, yeah, and that witty quick thinking then gets rewarded, and she gets more powerful, and then she basically adds new tools to the tool set that she has to be able to figure out how
And
to use, right?
to finish up, ReZero is where Overlord is more of a personal hang-up, and Spider is very much a physical combat issue. ReZero is very much about Subaru's personality and flaws. Ainz isn't very flawed as a character, but Subaru is, so he needs to overcome his flaws as a person. Also, Rudy from Mushoku Tensei needs to overcome his flaws as a person, but that's slower.
I think we're probably gonna get to that.
Yeah, but that's just, you need a character that has to stand still for a moment and think, and if that it's about the next move with your backhand sword slice, or your worries about if you don't look evil enough, or god damn, I'm an asshole, I should do something
He's stronger
about
than her,
that.
and it tries to kill her. And it kind of makes for a lot of fun back and
Let's
forth.
keep going.
And the last show we are going to talk about from the winter season isn't actually an isekai, but it is a show that explores the themes of power fantasy. Last Dungeon Kid in a Starter Town. This show took a really fun jab at isekai power fantasy tropes with the main
Does
character
it,
Lloyd.
though?
I have no idea what the fuck this
No,
is.
it's not on a
So
list for when it came out or whatnot, because it's not an isekai, so I didn't look at it.
I have no idea
But
what it is, but let's see what it has to say. Like
If
how
it's making fun, I don't think it's even making fun. But if it's making fun of overpowered characters, then it's it's Naro that it's criticizing, making fun of, not isekai.
see what
Who
it has to say.
is this kid from the last dungeon who moves to the starter town where he is way overleveled? But since he was considered weak in his old town, he has terrible self-esteem and assumes that he is crazy weak despite being one of the strongest human beings on the planet. The show cleverly keeps it hidden from him on how powerful he is, but the fun trope they joke about the most is how everyone in the world
neuron activation.
You're quick on the pulse.
That's a little That's a little spicy to have on YouTube, Matt. What are you doing?
Yeah, we also have it on YouTube now.
Yeah, we're gonna get banned. Hey, if he gets banned, we get banned and he doesn't, I'm fucking gonna be pissed. But anyway, let's keep going.
Literally revolves around Lloyd. Even the main villain is only a villain because he just wants to see Lloyd be super cool and beat his monsters. It's so stupid and makes for such a great show because of the way it makes fun of power fantasy anime and how it seems like everyone inexplicably
The way he described it doesn't make it sound to me like it makes fun of power fantasies, more like it's using the idea of a power fantasy to do something different.
Yeah, because
Like, again, I haven't watched the show. I don't know anything about the series or where it comes from or any of that, right? But the way that it looks and the way he's describing it doesn't correlate to his conclusion.
it's One Punch Man making
Right.
fun of overpowered characters.
Exactly. Like, I don't, because that's the thing, because making fun of something, right, is a bit different to, like, I guess, full-on parody or just using the tropes in a different way or subverting the tropes, right? Like there's differences in degree to these things, and I feel like there's some nuance being lost here. But like, yeah, if I was more knowledgeable about the show, or if someone else is more knowledgeable at the show, let us know. Because
So, if I could bring up, then Cautious Hero is another show that makes fun of overpowered characters. Except being overpowered is very, very, very important, and if he doesn't, the world is going to end. So, is it still making fun if that is very important that he is?
Yeah. I don't know. So anyway, let's.
He worships the main character of isekais, despite only knowing them for a few seconds and being, frankly, quite bland. Spring brought along 2 very good isekai. Not to summon a Demon Lord Season 2 is a really good anime, but unfortunately, it is pretty formulaic in its themes of escapism and fantasy. So for the sake of this video, we will be skipping.
I really wish he would, like, actually fucking define what he means by escapism.
And I don't...
Because he keeps saying that word, but I don't know if it means what he thinks he means. Like I don't know if it means the same thing in my head as it does for him. Because, like, I don't know why he keeps using it. It doesn't seem like...
Well, he says escape is media and fantasy, but I don't know what... Is it fantasy as in science fiction and fantasy, or is it fantasy wish fulfillment, or some other thing?
Yeah, like, is it... Like, does he mean, like, self-insert, you know, fantasy-type stuff, or does, like, what... And then even then, it's like, what's the actual problem with that, right? Like, what is the what is the thing that makes that something he doesn't like, right? I just don't get it. Like, what his criticism actually is of these shows when he says that. And I think he does a disservice to himself by not addressing what he means by that. Like, what makes this show an escapist power fantasy to Anime Matt is what I want to know. Like, what are the elements in the show? Is it the fan service? Is it the plot structure? Is it the tropes being used? Is it, you know, like that? Those are the kind of things I'd actually also be interested to get his take on. You know, like, but yeah. Anyway.
However, Combatants Will Be Dispatched was definitely a bit of a different isekai because it's not actually a power fantasy. The show does take place in a fantasy setting, and technically speaking, the characters could be classified as
what do you stop? He's using these words, but what
I don't know. What is it? Oh, it's isekai, like... but it's not a power fantasy. Like, is all right. Log Horizon is not a power fantasy. Overlord, I guess. I mean, something like it. Drifters is not. Grimgar of Ash is not. Konosuba is not. I can just go from the list. Knights and Magic, haven't watched it. Tanya the Evil, no. Isekai Restaurant, not. Smartphone, maybe. Slime, definitely. Death March, sort of Ragnarok. I think they are. Out to Summon the Demon Lord, fan service, power fantasy perhaps. Shield Hero, no, he's not having a good time. Cheat Magician,
yeah.
I thought it was boring. Afurite, I think it's not. Bookworm is definitely not. Didn't I tell you to make my abilities average? It's a kind of a slice of life more than anything. Cautious Hero is not a power fantasy because it's very much not. Mao-sama Retry. I have the feeling it is grandson of the mage of the sage. Choyuyu is weird.
We can go on and on and on.
I don't. Choyuyu is very weird. Ken Monomichi, the wrestler. No. Because he's not really into anything. He just wants an animal.
I don't. Yeah, again, like, I mean, you can.
I'm almost through the entire thing.
Like, I don't.
Hamefura.
Alright, finish
Hamefura is a laid back thing. Eighth Son. Then you have if Sun is kinda, I guess. It's more of look how
Yeah.
medieval post politics work anime than anything else. Mushoku Tensei, very character driven. Spider, it progresses towards it. Then 300 Years of Killing Slime is about not working or doing doing much at all. Then you have this. Then you have another couple,
Yes.
but point is, like a couple popular ones are power fantasies, but the majority, no, maybe not the majority, but a good deal of them aren't interested in
But
battles.
the problem, as I've been saying this whole time, comes down to the fact that we don't know what definition Matt's using to define these shows as power fantasies or not. Like, he doesn't explain what he means, right? Like, I don't know, because like my definition of like a power fantasy would be something that is typically self insert or referential, right? In the sense that you are meant to self insert within the character, right? And it is meant to fulfill the fantasy of having power, right? So it is supposed to give you that fantasy, that wish fulfillment of, man, if I was as powerful as Slime and I could do all these cool things, that would be super cool. I'd be just like Slime. He's literally me, right? Like that is kind of what I would define as a quote unquote power fantasy, right? Is the idea that you are meant to sort of apply yourself and like project yourself into the character and empathize with them in the sense that you would want to
But
have that power
if I look
yourself,
at the
right?
show, not Isekai, Bofuri, I don't want to get hurt, so I maxed out my defense. I don't really want to be Maple, but I sure would hell want to hang out with her.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and that creates like the difference, right? And so it's like, yeah, I really think that the core issue is that he doesn't define what he means. We don't know as the audience in the video what is the criteria here, and like perhaps maybe he's talked about this in other videos where he's like made
I
dedicated
don't
videos
think so, but
defining what he means by these terms. I don't think so either, but like that would probably be a little bit useful if he had like a video where he could say, "Hey, I did a video on like what power fantasies are or whatever," and then that pops up on the sidebar or however YouTube does it these days, right? And then it tells you, "Hey, you can go watch this video where I define what I mean by this, right? All this, right?" I actually think that would be really useful for him because I'm sitting here as like an onlooker, right, as the viewer that's watching his video, and I have fucking no idea what he's talking about. Like, as someone that knows a bit about like the isekais and the animes and the stuff, right? Like, I'm no expert or anything, but like just sitting here, I'm confused as shit because I'm like, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? So yeah, let's see what he has to say about this one.
But ironically enough, the show greatly limits their capabilities due to them not being evil enough, and on top of it, the main characters aren't NEETs from another world, but military personnel with the objective to conquer the world and then return with very real consequences back home. Which, despite this show being a lighthearted comedy, it is in stark contrast to what most isekai are like, and manages to still be entertaining and fun. I think this show is a really good sign of isekai branching out and not relying solely on a power fantasy trope, or frankly, even escapism.
So, Hamefura,
I don't want to repeat myself again. That's the problem. It's like I could just say the same shit I've already been saying for the whole video, but it's like, Matt, come on.
so something like No Game, No Life was written in the like a 1 year apart from ReZero, Shield Hero, Slime.
Oh god, I'm sorry, but my pause game right now. Look at your
Oh,
hand.
yeah, that's.
You see? Do you see
I
it?
think
Do you
that's
see it?
a sort has a offset handle though. think she just has a weird fantasy sword.
I don't know. We could go back and have
Yeah,
a
you
look.
can. I don't know if you can frame by frame it.
I feel like I'm just like tapping. Doesn't look like it. Let me play it for a sec.
Does she move it?
I think it does. Yeah, because like there's the back. Like, do you see the
Yeah.
back of it by her elbow? So maybe it does. It looked really weird because I was like, is that like clipping through her fingers or something? Like, what the fuck? But anyway, yeah, no, it's like, yeah, I'm just ending up repeating myself now. It's like he's saying words that are meaningless. Like they're all
So
meaningless
yeah, so
words,
something
don't mean
like
anything.
smartphone, power fantasy to the max, of course, is written in the same year as Ascendancy of a Bookworm. The super not power fantasy of
Not a power
the
fantasy
not
at all,
power
yeah.
fantasy of Combatants Are Dispatched or is written in the same year as Bovary. Oh no, that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah.
Combatants Are Dispatched is written in the same year as the light novel adaptation of 300 Years of Killing Slimes, where the witch is so powerful she's immortal and overpowered, level 100, and nothing can beat her. Alright, so there's no... I don't know, how much time is there left in the video? Because
We're at 5 minutes out of
Alright,
8
I'll
minutes.
save my conclusion for later then.
Yeah, we got a bit to go left, so it's good.
The show is just a raw idiot comedy with some harem elements that just happens to be
Wait a
an
minute,
isekai.
so are harem elements not part of being a power fantasy? Because like I've always considered harem stuff to be kind of a sort of like it's one of those things that is kind of a power fantasy in the sense that you know everyone wants to have a bunch of cute girls after their dick, you know, like right? So how is that not like a classification for something that he doesn't like? But in this show, it's something that's fine. It's just because it's a comedy show that's got harem elements, rather than a show that's, I guess, meant to take itself serious. Again, he's saying words that don't mean. It's really annoying me. But anyway,
Which is pretty cool.
Harem is pretty cool.
Alright.
Summer brought Moonlit Fantasy, which is a more
Yeah, apparently.
traditional isekai. But once again, we are seeing shows take steps away from traditional power fantasy.
We're seeing shows take steps against traditional power fantasies.
Oh, Mushoku Tensei took steps away from the traditional power fantasy. Mushoku Tensei, written in 2002.
I just fucking
Written in
like
2015.
how does like when he speaks like this, right? When he's speaking about like, oh well, we're seeing these new isekai shows, right, or whatever. I wouldn't have as much of a problem if he just like specified like, oh well, I'm talking just about
Or,
anime, right?
you know,
Like it's like
they're
we're seeing more
Yeah.
adaptations of isekais
adaptations.
that move away, right? If he specified it with that, I wouldn't have much of a problem. But the way that he talks, he always does that anime tunnel vision shit where it's like he's talking about it in a vacuum, as if everything else doesn't exist, right? Like the origins of where these stories come from don't exist or matter to Anime Matt. Because this is the thing, right? It's fine if you only want to talk about anime, right? If you only want to talk about anime, that's not the issue that we have with what Matt does, right? The issue that we have is that he only talks about anime as if anime is the only factor that exists within the Japanese media sphere, right? Like it's the only thing. Like all of these animes just come out of a vacuum, right? Like it's
one
all
after the
fucking,
other.
Like, this nebulous
Slime
thing.
is very influenced by Tanya. What do you say? That Mushoku Tensei takes influences of Konosuba and Smartphone Isekai and said, "Nah, I can do it better."
Look.
Shield Hero. Alright, main character is an asshole. Well, you know what? I'm going to write a better asshole. So I write Mushoku Tensei. Good work, because Shield Hero was actually written before Mushoku Tensei.
yeah, it's super annoying to me because it's one of those like niggling like misconceptions that filters its way into like the discourse, right? Because people don't fucking read and they don't think about, oh well, it actually makes a lot more sense that these animes are adapted from these novels and there's a timeline and it, and all of these things kind of come from somewhere, and they're all influenced by each other in this like specific way, and some authors like this stuff and some
Yeah,
authors
like
like other stuff,
my
and all of that stuff is really fascinating, but you never get to see any of that when you have this like limited vision and focus, and you perpetuate that focus to other people such as Matt's audience, right? Because let's be real, Matt has an audience and people watch him, and they're going to watch him, and they're also going to think, oh, or at least the ones that don't know any better are going to think, oh, well, it's true.
So
These
I like
animes
one
are
example
coming
from,
now.
say, Mushoku Tensei. In the first season, you had this big flying castle, right? Yeah.
The big castle in the
So
sky.
that's obviously a reference to, or of course, a homage to Laputa Castle in the Sky. But Overlord also has a big castle in the sky. And while Laputa's castle is empty and vacant, it has nothing in it, Overlord's castle had heroes in it that did things and fixed up the world and everything was fine, and then they killed all each other because they were jealous and whatnot. And in Mushoku Tensei, the castle's active and they're world police and doing stuff because they feel like it helps the world. So if you want to take an evolution, you had Laputa, big advanced castle, empty. Overlord, big castle, now empty, but it had heroes fixing up the world.
It has an interesting.
And then Mushoku Tensei, big castle, is active with heroes doing stuff. So you could argue, I don't know, of course, and it doesn't even matter, that Mushoku Tensei read Overlord and thought, damn, that castle idea with heroes is a good thing. I'm going just to lift that entire concept. Which makes Mushoku Tensei a super derivative work more than it was.
Yeah. And these are the kind of things you could kind of explore through, like, author interviews and that kind of stuff.
Or
right?
blog reading, because I'm pretty sure that Mushoku Tensei's author was accused of stealing from Overlord in this aspect.
So it's kind of like, there's a lot of really interesting stuff out there, but of course a lot of the time we don't get to see it because obviously it's in Japanese, but also it doesn't end up getting covered by anyone on AniTube because AniTube is
AnimeTube.
Enough said. Yes. So let's keep going.
The main character is overpowered, of course, but fails to save a lot of lives and kind of gets overwhelmed with both discrimination and dread. It's something that isn't explored often in Isekai, and the way the show was originally set up, I didn't expect it to be something that was going to be explored in this show. But nevertheless, they did, and it turned out great. And finally, fall 2021 brought the final show I need to discuss. Mushoku Tensei is known as one of the founding
Mushoku Tensei.
Where's the A?
Oh, Matt, don't change.
But do change a little though.
Do change a little though. Get better, be better, Matt. But at the same time, in some respects, don't change because that's adorable.
Fathers of modern isekai, and for good reason. The show is far from bound by the typical themes of escapism and fantasy. Rudius is far from an overpowered individual and suffers a great deal of PTSD,
I'm not gonna do it.
not only from his previous life, but even some newfound PTSD he's gained in his new life. The show is truly changing the isekai genre in ways that I can't properly describe in under 2 paragraphs. But what I can say is that this show is different and forces change in the genre. Can you pause?
Because how is Mushoku Tensei going to change isekai if it's the grandfather of isekai?
I know.
How is...
like,
ReZero was written before Mushoku Tensei, and that main character also has traumas from his life, modern life as a Hiki and socially stunted.
I just can't anymore.
And I am
He's fucking breaking me.
I am
I'm fucking broken.
fine with saying that Mushoku Tensei had a big influence over Isekai, and it kind of shaped how it is today. I'm not very in favor of saying that Mushoku Tensei is the originator of Isekai, because that doesn't disservice to Tanya the Evil and whatnot.
Didn't the author actually address
I don't
this in an
know.
interview? I vaguely recall seeing a tweet or some shit where someone, like, there was an interview where they asked him this very, like, do you think that Mushoku Tensei... It was like, Mushoku Tensei is often considered the grandfather of Isekai. How do you feel about this?
Oh, he probably said, no, I'm not.
I can't... I think he kind of said no, but he, like, roundabouted it. Like, I can't quite remember what he said, and that's what's annoying me. Like, I have to look up the interview again. I know for a fact he has actually addressed that claim at some point. Like, he's actually, like, said something about it, but I just don't recall what it is, and I don't want to, like, put words in his mouth, so I'm not gonna, like... But I wanted to put that out there because, hey, look, people who watch, maybe you can go look it up.
If you want my controversial opinion on the very first Isekai, as in lineage of Isekai, not the technical definition, I would put it at Zero no Tsukaima, the familiar of Zero.
Yeah.
That is 2000. That is a light novel from 2004. Well, Mushoku Tensei is 2012. If people care.
Yeah. Alright, let's see what Matt's got to say.
Screams that it is not acceptable to write cookie-cutter characters in a fictional world and have them prance around like it's their own little playground. Isekais need to have drama, character development, flaws, and life lessons. The show takes the time to make sure that you know that Rudeus isn't exactly a good guy, completely innocent and friendly, but it's okay because people can change and learn, and Rudeus, along with everyone else, has to go through a process. This previous year's Isekai has taken multiple steps in turning down the power in power fantasy. Even in anime where characters seem to have unlimited power, writers have taken the liberty to more or less kick their protagonists while they are down and show them how harsh the world can be even for the most powerful of individuals. This is a good change. Modern Isekai needs to evolve if it wishes to stay relevant, and it looks like last year was a year when these changes have finally hit the anime industry. Sure, there were definitely
No.
Oh, so that was an
I don't buy it. That is just his way of saying and everything.
They finally hit the anime. See, in a vacuum, I guess that would be actually correct. But in the context of Maname Matt, it's like, because that would be correct, right? It's true. Like, if you were talking about just the adaptions, right? Perhaps you could make the argument that there has been like this change away from.
But he's talking about with piano music in the background on how Isekai changed.
But he's like completely ignoring all the other isekais that have come out over the last like 10 years that are fucking not powerful.
Or are written or whatever, written in the same year or concurrently to Mushoku Tensei.
Exactly!
Mushoku Tensei came onto the scene, and the next thing that was written was Smartphone Isekai. Mouse-sama Retry, which I found completely boring, was written like a couple years after Mushoku Tensei, so it should know better, but still it got an anime before Mushoku Tensei, so whatever.
Yeah, alright. We're almost done, so let's cap it off.
A few traditional isekai last year, but none of
Traditional
them were
isekai.
massive
Okay, no,
hits.
no.
Whereas
I
more
have to
unique
stop- I have to
isekai
stop
are starting to
repeating
really
myself.
take
It's
root
gonna-
and
it's
prove
gonna
that
fucking
most
kill me.
viewers want something different. They want something with character development, with consequences, with meaning. Isekai is changing, and that is a good thing. Thank you for
No,
watching.
Matt, I think people just know quality when they see it, and they get attracted to
In
quality.
general.
Like, in general, like, I don't think, like, I knew Mishoko Tensei was going to be a hit the moment I started to see trailers for it. Because I was like, I could recognize right away like, that's gonna be the big show of the season, right? Because you just know, right? Like, I
Was
don't
it the
think it's
budget?
this, like, thing
Did you
where
see the
people are-
budget?
Oh, fuck off!
Just a joke.
No. It's just a meme. But no, it's like, I think people can, like, recognize, like, you could recognize a lot of people were talking about it before it came out, right? Because obviously the lineages and whatnot. So, like, there's already, like, hype behind a lot of these shows that got big, right? Spider was another one where it was like, you know, you can kind of gauge the zeitgeist, right? If you put your finger on the pulse. And you can kind of see, okay, well, that seems like that's going to be the big ticket item, and people are going to be talking about that quite a bit, right? So I don't think it's necessarily like people are like starving for fucking like character development in a isekai, right? I think it's just like people recognize quality when they see it, and the ones that are not quality have fallen away, right? Like people don't talk about them,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, let's cap it off because we're almost done. Jesus Christ.
Alright.
Oh, so
Pause.
sad. It's so sad.
Yeah,
piano
piano.
music. Oh my
Alright.
God.
My big,
I'm
maybe
gonna
it's too hasty or whatnot, but my big opinion, my big take on the video is that Maname Matt had a vision. He had a
He had a dream. He had a
reality be
dream.
damned. Isekai was bad before and is now good. And what it comes out now is going to change the future.
I have a dream. I dream
Where
of a
Mushoku
world
Tensei
where
was
isekai
came.
will be judged by its quality and not by its
That
genre.
Mushoku Tensei is the grandfather of Isekai and only came out like 1 year ago. It only existed from 1 year ago. It's the grandfather of Isekai, only exists for 1 year.
Yeah, in the anime television. So yeah, no, I've repeated myself quite a bit, but I think my biggest problem with this video is the fact that he doesn't define what he means by things. He doesn't actually like explain. Okay, well, what makes something a power fantasy to him? What makes something generic, right, to him? He doesn't actually explain it. So when he's using all of these words over and over and over again, because he used those words constantly, right? Like over and over again, he's saying power fantasy, power fantasy, power fantasy, escapism, 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 right? I don't know what any of those words mean to you, man. Like, what do they actually mean to you? What does it mean to be an escapist power fantasy isekai?
Right.
Like, I really want to know, right? Like, please, just tell me.
My biggest issue is that he's making very big statements, very grand, orbital, in the Grand Senate, making these grand proclamations, only forgetting that he's I don't know, he's standing in a council meeting, not in the government. He's talking like he's going to change the world on the global scale while he's standing in a town hall council meeting.
Yeah, but that's my general takeaway. I think he needs to define his words better, and that, because other than that, I don't really have like any major complaints. I guess like in terms of like video quality or anything, like it's just typical Maname fare, editing wise and stuff. So it's not bad. It's not like it's bad, right? It's not terrible. So I'm not gonna harp on that. But it's just like that's my biggest thing is just define your shit. Define what you mean, right? So I know what you're talking about. Like, what specifically is it that makes something what you think it is, right? And then, of course, you have the generalized, as we've gone over, the tunnel vision.
Timeline issues.
So,
Oh,
timeline issues, tunnel vision, and all of the things that come with that. But, yeah, I guess that's going to be it from us today. I don't think there's anything else to really go over, unless you've got another point. All right, well, we will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good
all right.
time.
Later.
Laters.